wrestling fans around the corner, around the world. I'm Dan Marty.
Bill Eady, Demolition.
Unbelievable, folks. Sit down, relax. Our brand new Wrestling Insiders is coming up now. Tickets are on sale now at bostonwrestling.com for our 20th anniversary Back to the 80s WrestleFest, Saturday, November the 13th at Memorial Hall in Melrose, Mass. Wrestling fans, it's time to rock. WWE legend Marty Jannetty of the Rockers returns for 3 big nights, Wednesday, September the 1st through Friday, September the 3rd. Marty will be taping historical Wrestling Insider episodes, live specials, in-cyber autograph signings, support wrestling superstars, pre-order autographed 8x10s now over at bostonwrestling.com. This September, get your sunglasses ready. It's time to party with Marty.
This is Mick Foley.
This is Harley Race.
This is Shelton Benjamin.
This is Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff.
This is the Monster Abyss.
And this is Daniel Bryan.
This is JBL, and you're watching the MWF.
Be there live.
And I'm very happy to have this fine first-class gentleman with us here in studio. Gentleman, Demolition Axe, Mass Superstar, Bill Eady. We love having you no matter what we call you.
I appreciate it.
As long as we don't call you late for dinner.
That's it.
And we certainly don't want you to be late for dinner when it comes to our great friends about a block down the road at Red Rose Chinese food here in Melrose. We saw the spread that they had for us, Bill. We almost had to end the night.
I remember a year or so ago, it was fantastic.
They fed us well.
Yeah.
They fed us well. You're going to regain those 29 pounds pretty quick.
I hope so.
And I tell you this, if these fine folks can make this dilapidated face look reasonably well, our good friends over at Noel's Salon, 347 Pleasant Street in Malden, I mean, if they can make this look decent, imagine what they can do for the average folks, especially the ladies. They specialize in so many different areas of hair. Visit noelsalon.com. We thank them for trying to make me look as handsome as humanly possible. Trust me, it is not an easy endeavor. I don't have the John Cena Sr. gimmick. You know what I mean? He's got a little bit of the turf. You know?
Oh, yeah?
He doesn't got the grass. He's got the turf. You know what I mean? That's all right, though. Sometimes when the lights get a little warm, I think the glue is going to melt, but that's all right. We love Johnny anyway. We've done a couple of great episodes with Bill. The one thing you guys have asked for, really, is to try and almost match him up with the episodes we did with Demolition Smash, Barry Darso down at Wrestle House in Tampa, Florida, WrestleMania week, when Bill had his Clark Griswold-like family vacation adventure.
Oh, boy.
When everything that could went wrong between the car and the air conditioner and the bug-infested hotel, and
yeah.
It was not a WrestleMania for you to remember.
No, it wasn't. That was, I blocked that out of my memory.
It's unbelievable. Our junior ambassador in the director's room, Devon Brent, he got to go to WrestleMania for the first time and experience it, even though half of the crowd were cardboard heads that were taped to the seats to make it look like it was a full house. But it was a unique experience to wear rain ponchos and have a rain delay like it was a baseball game in the middle of a wrestling show. But you know what? Maybe that will make for an even better memory for him. He had a lot of fun. And our thanks to WWE for being so kind to let the gentleman be there.
Nice.
It's been very good to him since you know what's funny? And you know, a lot can be said of good and bad about WWE, but I've made a lot of, even though it's been a long time since I've technically been with them, he got hit by a car and broke his leg, and they sent him a full-size version of that John Cena belt, the one that spun, with his name inscribed on it.
Oh, nice.
So I said, I hope he's not going to run out into the street and get hit by more cars to try and get more belts, but at least he got one out of the deal, I guess. But I mean, this is one of those little replica ones. This was one of those massive $500 type deals that they sell online.
That's a good gesture.
There's a lot of nice people that work in Stamford, Connecticut.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things that I think most of the wrestlers and I think most of humanity hear about would probably change if they could. But there's a lot of great people that work in that building. And you know what? And I think there's a lot of unsung heroes in that company.
I believe so, too.
Yeah. You were there long enough. You know, and the funny thing is still a lot of them that are probably from back then that are still there now, just in different capacities.
Yeah.
All right. When it comes to, for those of you that may be really new to the scene, when we say WWF, we're talking about what is now WWE. Up until 2002, when the braggadocious World Wrestling Federation went above and beyond their agreement with the World Wildlife Foundation, where they wouldn't promote WWF outside of the United States, they lost a lawsuit, and in May of 2002, they came up with the slogan, "Get the F out." They became WWE, and I hate that name, Bill.
Yeah, well,
I hate that name.
We weren't involved with it, so for us, our experience was WWF.
I liked it. I suggested it to them after the fact, and imagine if they used it. How foolish I would have been to have suggested it. I liked WWX. Kind of edgier at that time. They were still not too far removed from the Attitude Era.
Pre-XFL then.
Yeah, yeah. I think WWE, to me it sounds kind of weak. I don't know. Yeah. One man's opinion. I don't know. I'll always, it took me years to stop saying WWF.
And what does the E stand for?
Entertainment.
Okay.
Yeah, well, enough said. Well, we'll go back to the days when it was actually wrestling, the wrestling that you loved. Bill had a great run as the mass superstar in WWF. We're going to talk about that further down the road. But again, we want to try and keep in the same timeline as we did with Barry when we had him with us alone in Tampa. Because, you know, of all the people to have put, to pontificate such a very interesting thought, it was our friend Marty Jannetty. And we know Marty. There's a lot of great things about Marty. And we also know that Marty's out of his mind. But, you know, he said when we talked, I think it was the Nasty Boys, because we did the same thing. We did individual interviews as opposed to a group. And there were a lot of folks that say, why? Why didn't you interview them together? But to me, you know what? You're two different human beings, two different perspectives. And like Marty in that very chair said, you know what? You could say to me, point to the moon. If we're sitting looking at a body of water, point to the moon. And you could point right there, and the moon would be there. And you could say to Dan, point to the moon. I look down, and the moon's right there. We're both looking at the same moon, but different perspectives.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So for Marty to come up with that, I was actually very impressed with them. Beyond Mass Superstar, as I said, we'll go back that direction a little bit. But in 1986, you came to the World Wrestling Federation, not too far off from that, but as one of the machines from Japan. How did the machines from Japan come to be in 1986? A giant masked Andre the Giant who was suspended in storyline by Jack Tunney. I believe you were the big machine. Were you the big machine?
Super.
You were the super machine, and Black Jack Mulligan was the big machine.
Right.
How did this faction come to be?
Well, there had been a team, you know, back up a little bit. Andre and I had been going back and forth for Inoki's office, New Japan, for years. Individuals as tags, as opponents in tags. And they had a team and a manager called the Strong Machines. And I think one was Japanese, one was from Korea. Their manager was Wakamatsu, Japanese kid. And he had been established manager. Well, they were very popular and over, but they were heels. So, excuse me, Andre and I were going over for, I've got a little residue from the COVID, so you have to bear with me. Andre and I were going over for a tag team tournament. And when we landed, they took us to the office. And they said, the Strong Machines have just jumped from New Japan to All Japan. Wakamatsu, the manager, stayed. We have an idea, and we'll run with it for a while and see if it catches on. Make the Giant Machine and the Super Machine. Everybody knows who Superstar was. Everybody knew who the Giant was. Wakamatsu's your manager, and every night he's going to challenge his other team with his new team. They're bigger, they're stronger, they're more efficient, they're devastating, and sort of tried to bury him. So in the process, Vince got, I think maybe Andre had talked to them, somebody in the office, Vince Sr. or somebody, and they sent Gene Okerlund over to do an interview. And then when we finished in Japan, they brought it to New York.
Now, in Japan, they never tried to hide the fact that you were the Masked Superstar?
Oh, no, no.
Okay.
People knew that.
Oh, really? Okay.
People knew that, and they wanted people to know that. The manager said that I have a stronger team, a bigger team, a better team. So it was against the guys that had left the company. Years after that, they came back from Bubba's group back to Inoki.
Oh, did they really?
Yeah.
See, now that part I never knew as far as the Japanese side of things went. So Blackjack Mulligan wasn't involved in Japan?
Not originally. Andre was in negotiations to film The Princess Bride. So when he left for England, it was going over well here. And a lot of people don't realize. They say, why would you do that? Everybody knew who it was. That was silly. Well, they were supposed to know. It was like a comic series.
Yeah.
So they found they needed another one to replace Andre. You can't replace Andre, but you can get pretty close with Mulligan.
Big man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we had a lot of fun with it.
So Andre, as far as in-ring competition, he really didn't don the mask too many times in the United States. It was more in Japan.
In Japan.
And he was filming Princess Bride.
Yes.
And then, so did they almost try and use the rub as Bobby Heenan trying to expose Andre as being the giant machine while he was suspended by Jack Tunney?
Right.
While you guys wrestled? That was kind of the
Right.
concept of it. And then on the road, it was, for a long time, it was you and Blackjack against Stud and Bundy.
Right. And then we'd have six-man tags.
Right.
We'd have the Hogan machine. We'd have the Junkyard machine. We'd have the Animal machine. We'd have the Piper machine.
That was right here in Boston.
Yeah.
That would have been October of '86.
And we did that all over the country.
I think the Crusher did it once, didn't he?
He may have.
Yeah.
We had so many different partners that, and I think the people enjoyed it.
Yeah.
You know, they didn't take it as serious. They, you know, how are you going to cover up Roddy Piper or Hulk Hogan? I mean.
Well, no, I remember with at least with the Piper match, every time the referee had his back turned, Piper would go like this, and then Bobby would start going nuts.
Yeah.
That's Piper. That's Roddy Piper. That's Roddy
Yeah.
Piper. So, you know, it was meant tongue-in-cheek, but it was a lot of fun, and it drew well.
Yeah, it did well.
Did you expect it to be a long-term gimmick, or did you think
No,
it was going to be as short as
it was when we first was introduced to it in Japan. It was going to be for the extent of the tour, and I think it might have been a 6 or 7 week tour. And they thought, well, we'll see how it goes. We figured it'd be a number of weeks. I think it went months. So.
Yeah, WWF, yeah, it went
Yeah.
through the end of 1986.
Yeah.
And what did you think about having Captain Lou as your manager? So these Japanese machines had a mouthpiece.
Well, there again, I mean, he was part of the comedy aspect of it. He was off the wall. It just added to it. So.
Did you like having Lou with you as a manager?
Well, he was with us in events, the ring, occasionally if it was around New York, and in television, but he was never with us on the road.
He wasn't doing the house shows, sir.
No, he was just a
TV
mouthpiece.
mainly?
Yeah,
Yeah.
TV.
Yeah, and actually, if you look back at the history, he retired with you guys.
Did he?
In December of 1986, yeah, he finished up with the machines from his managerial career, and he went on to, for the video game aficionados out there, and I know we have a couple in the control room, Captain Lou Albano left WWF during its big boom to become Super Mario
Yes.
on the Super Mario Brothers TV show. He was actually
had
Mario.
a good run with that too. That's
Yeah,
fine.
I'm sure he made some big money as Super
Yeah.
Mario. Yeah, but I remember, I think it was September of '86 in Boston. It was you and Blackjack against Stud and Bundy as the machines. And then there was an angle where it built to the next month where it was the 6-man, where it was you guys with the Piper machine against Stud, Bundy, and Bobby Heenan. And we talked about in an earlier episode, Patterson and Ray Stevens. For a guy that was a manager, Bobby Heenan took some great bumps.
Oh boy, he was pretty athletic. I mean, he was a pretty good wrestler too.
Yeah.
Just his.
He didn't really look it, but
no, and of course his size, he couldn't work with anybody. But as a manager, he could work with anybody.
Memories of working with Stud and Bundy. Certainly guys that weren't going to take the bumps that Bobby Heenan did.
Well, John was a friend of mine for years before that, and he was actually my partner. He was
Oh, really?
He was the Superstar 2 in the Mid-Atlantic area.
Oh, was he really?
Yeah.
They put him under a hood?
Yeah.
Really? Okay.
Superstar 2 character. So I had a good relationship with him, and you know, both those guys are big guys, so you can't.
Yeah.
They're the same as Mulligan. So I would have to work around them. You're not going to expect them to take flying bumps and this and that.
No.
But they could take bumps from Mulligan, of course.
Right.
Or if we were in 6-mans with Andre, they can certainly take bumps from Andre. Good memories, good fond memories. I knew Bundy in Georgia when he first broke in.
Did he have hair then?
I don't think so, no.
He shaved it at that point?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then he was out in Mid-South, and I went back and forth out there. And I had asked to go, someone asked me to go to Germany. We were in Japan, and one of the promoters from Germany was there and wanted to book me to go to Germany, but I never had any free time. So they contacted me and said, we'd like you to come now. And I said, I really can't. And I suggested taking Bundy.
Oh, okay.
And so Bundy got his first overseas tour.
Because of you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and he always thanked me for that, yeah. He was over there for about 3 or 4 weeks. So he experienced different styles of wrestling.
And that's great for every talent. You know, to break away from the regular rhyme and routine and learn something new, a different culture, a different style of wrestling, different wrestling promotions back then when there were so many different places you could learn and work from.
Yeah.
Was it difficult to work with them when it was just the straight tags, when it was just you and Mulligan against Stud and Bundy?
No, it wasn't difficult to work. I think that they were professionals. I think they respected us. They knew we were trying to have a good match. They never tried to squash us. I always felt I could take care of myself, and I knew Mulligan could. And I knew Bundy could, and John could, so why are we going to go out there and just give haymakers? Just have a match.
But I mean, as far as, you know, like we mentioned, neither one of them were big bump takers. It was maybe a little bit more slower and methodical than when you threw Bobby
that
into
aspect,
6-mans.
That aspect, it wasn't a Jannetty, Shawn Michaels type match or a Bret Hart match, but you know, we worked a lot against Barry and I worked against a lot of big guys, and you just adjust your match each night. You know, you add this, you delete that if it doesn't work, you reinforce that if it does work. And with the character, the Machines, we were aggressive too. Not as aggressive as Demolition, but you know. And I think they were both a little leery of Mulligan too.
Yeah, this is a man that had a reputation, that's for sure.
He'd give you a haymaker once in a while.
Well, I don't know if the name will come up again down the road because, as we mentioned, Captain Lou wound up. So did Big John Studd's career in the year 1986 in the WWF as it came to a close. Kind of surprising because this is a guy that worked on top. I'm sure he was probably making a pretty good chunk of change at the time. Big John Studd left WWF. Another one of the brothers, I remember the day vividly that he passed away, March the 20th, 1995, both for personal reasons, and I was actually in the locker room at a rescheduled Boston Garden house show the night that he passed away. It was right when WWF was promoting WrestleMania 11, which was the one that featured Lawrence Taylor wrestling in the ring. And Vince was actually doing the media circuit with LT. And, you know, usually Tony Gurria or whoever the agent was, they didn't mind the independent guys, whatnot, being in the locker room. But when Vince was there, it was time to, you know, leave the area, so to speak. But again, at the time, in 1995, I was in the 10th grade, and here I am in the locker room of the WWF. There's Undertaker, there's Paul Bearer, there's Shawn Michaels, there's, again, some great memories from my life. And I just remember that was the day that Stud passed. And another very young man that passed away. Your memories of John Studd, where you knew him again outside of WWF
well,
even?
Yeah, I know him out of Mid-Atlantic, Georgia, mostly Mid-Atlantic. I knew his wife. My wife knew his wife. Matter of fact, John would call periodically, and I'd be overseas, and he would ask how everything was. And,
really?
Yeah. And he commented to her one time, he says, "Tell Bill when he comes back, he's got to get up here. I'm making more money than I've ever made." And
Stud you're talking about?
Yeah.
What did he do outside of wrestling?
No. When he was wrestling.
Oh, I see what you mean. Okay.
And,
to try and get you to come up to WWF.
Yeah.
I see what you mean. Okay.
And just a good guy. I mean, a good family guy. I don't think I've ever had a verbal argument with him or disagreement. There again, I mean, it's just sad that so many friends have passed on.
I met him one time, and I thought he was an exceptionally nice man.
Yeah.
Yeah. Almost like he shouldn't have been a heel, you know?
Yeah. But he was, he took the business seriously too. He protected it, and we traveled up and down the highway together. And one thing I remember about him, he was in the conversation. It was a holiday season, one of the big holidays or something in us. Might have been Labor Day or Memorial Day, and everybody's out picnicking in their yard. We're driving to the town, and we're both commenting, "Gee, I'd like to be doing that, you know, playing badminton or swimming or cooking out and barbecuing." And John said, "Yeah." And he said, "They'll probably be going to the matches tonight, and they'll see us in the ring," and said, "Boy, I wish I was doing that."
Doing the exact same thing, right?
So you have to enjoy what you're doing, and we did, to go through all the, you know, the loneliness that we had from family members. We got to see the world. They would have loved to see the world. And the only benefit, I think, from it is, I keep telling people, I've mentioned it many times, I may have mentioned it to you, we got to travel the world, see things that thousands and millions of people pay handsomely to see, and we got paid to be there. So we went out too.
For what you lost, think of the things that you gained.
Yeah.
The experiences you would have never, ever had if it wasn't for, you know, the travel that went along with wrestling.
Yeah.
You know, and that's one of the great things about it. Even in my, you know, my experiences pale in comparison to anything you've ever done. But I just think about the places and the cities across the United States I would have never seen if I wasn't involved in professional wrestling. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
Sometimes it's limited what you see because the schedule is usually so busy, and you know, I'm sure as most folks that are smart fans that would watch this type of a program know, it's usually one-night stands when you're in different cities.
Boy.
You're not there for a long period of time. But when you get a chance to take in something for a day or even two that you may never see again, especially overseas travel, I mean, guys are crazy when they don't have the chance to take that in when they can.
Well, yeah, I mean, you're there, you might as well gobble up the atmosphere and the historic value. We did have some times when overseas, I know we went Italy and Switzerland and Sicily, the promoters brought our wives with us.
Oh, that was nice.
And Hawaii.
Oh, your wife must have loved that.
A couple times my Japanese office brought my wife and daughter over.
Oh, your daughter too?
Yeah.
Really? That's nice.
So there was some benefits, and then they paid for a couple days extra after the matches and stuff. So I think it's how you conduct yourself and how you treat the office, and don't try to step on them.
Yeah.
So.
Well, before we go to the break, any final memories of John Studd? Someone you traveled with, someone that you get to know kind of well on a personal level? I mean, you could probably go on and on if you really thought about it, but maybe a funny story, a favorite story?
Well, it's just, I remember the last time I saw John was in Des Moines, Iowa. And he was wrestling the Giant. And the Giant, you know, John, when he went to the ring, stepped over the ring.
Top rope.
Top rope. Well, that was Andre's gimmick. And I remember Andre had asked him 3 or 4 times, "Boss, please don't do that." He said, "Can you go under the top rope?" And for some reason, John resisted. Why you would resist a request from Andre, I don't know. Anyway, I remember Andre asked him that night before he went out. Barry was there too. And he said, "Please don't do that. Go to under top rope tonight." And John didn't. When Andre hit the ring, all hell broke loose. I mean, all hell broke loose. Andre beat him from pillar to post, and I didn't know that was the last time I was going to see John, but it was. And I think Andre felt bad about it, but he had asked John not to do it, and John defied him.
He was the boss.
He was the boss, and that was his gimmick. It'd be like me, you know, Austin Idol's finish, using Austin Idol's finish for a high spot, or Steve Austin, or anybody, you know.
Right.
You don't do it. You have a little respect. And I feel bad for John, and I don't know what was going through his mind, of course. And there again, I never saw him after that.
Well, yeah, we'll get to 1989 as time goes on, but that was kind of a short return that John had.
Yeah.
Any idea what John did after wrestling at that point? You know, he left in '89, and then he passed, like I said, March 20th, '95. Did you keep in contact with him at all, or you really just lost touch?
I don't think that he wanted to be around the business. I remember he called my wife a couple times, and I was overseas still. But as far as coming to the matches, he wouldn't have done that. It's like I wouldn't have done it either.
Yeah.
If they have matches in Atlanta, it's,
yeah.
You know, you feel like
it's odd.
It's odd, and if you're not asked to come down, the guys look
like
at
a
you.
groveler, yeah.
Yeah, the guys look at you, or at least I feel they look at, oh, he's trying to get a job. And we didn't need jobs.
Yeah.
So.
And, you know, the funny thing is almost the same could be said for Bundy. When he wound up leaving WWF in early '88, he did a couple of commercials and a couple of movie spots, but he basically vanished from the wrestling world until Vince brought him back for a short run from '94 into '95. Just another one, like Studd, just kind of fell off the face of the planet. There was no NWA, AWA world class runs. He was he just kind of did his thing.
I think John, if I recollect correctly, I think his wife was in real estate. Mm-hmm. And I think that he was involved with purchasing and flipping homes.
Oh, good for him.
I know that for a fact, but how long it lasted, I don't know.
Yeah. Well, disappointment again. He must have been, off the top of my head without having the internet in front of me, mid-40s.
Yeah.
Must have been just a surprise. You know, it was before we had, it seemed like a wrestling death every week or every month or something at that point. The Studd one kind of came out of the blue.
Well, you know what? I'm still waiting to hear the third They come in threes. So you got New Jack, you got Kernodle.
Oh, from the time we're taping this right now,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. Well, knock on wood. Hopefully that third one is going to be quite a while from now. But any memories of Bundy, where his name probably won't come up again? Big guy, you know, one of the mainstays of WWF of the mid-'80s.
Yeah.
Main evented a WrestleMania. He was one of my favorites when I was a little guy. Any memories of King Kong Bundy? I remember you guys, funny enough, working an indie show in Maine, maybe 2005, 2006, and it brought back memories of seeing you guys when I was 6 years old at the Garden, seeing you guys doing those tag matches when it was the Machines against Bundy and Stud.
Yeah. Bundy always tried to come across as gruff and rough. But he was a teddy bear, as far as I know, concerned with me. I think he was protective because maybe his early years in the business, he wasn't treated properly.
Really?
But as he grew, I mean, I don't have any stories to tell or anything. That just listening to him talk about some promoters and things like that. But like I said, I got him his first overseas trip. We had good matches when we worked together as singles and tags. He did a good interview. And he was a positive guy. I mean, I don't have any negative memories of Bundy at all. So.
I thought he had a great wit. I thought he was a very funny guy.
Yeah. He had dry humor.
Yeah, very, very dry, but very funny, I thought.
Yeah.
And just another one, sad, passed away. Isn't it nice he at least made it to his 60s? But still, that's very young for someone to pass away.
And I know we saw him, Barry and I saw him in New York City at a couple of events, signing events, and he was undergoing some health issues at that time. But
I think he lost part of his foot.
I think he did, or he was in the process of going through that process. And he had dropped a considerable amount of weight.
Yeah.
But he was still happy, still joking.
I think he wound up managing an apartment complex, if I remember right. Yeah. And that's where they found him, unfortunately. Now, I tell you this, he was a guy that, you know, we had interacted with. Another one about coming to the studio. I think he would have been a lot of fun to share some of his stories with that personality that he had that I'm sure would have shown. I think it would have been something a little different than what we usually have here on this show. We like to have all the different personalities shine and come out. And again, a mainstay for WWF. A shame that he wasn't put into the Hall of Fame while he was still alive. Yeah. Someone certainly that was deserving.
Is he in now?
No. He's got the Demolition deal.
that is a shame on his part, because he was a, who knows, right?
Hey, WrestleMania main eventer. I think if you've reached the spot where you've main evented a WrestleMania, you've earned a spot in that Hall of Fame, considering some of the people that are in. When you're the longest reigning WWF Tag Team Champions of all time, you deserve a spot in that Hall of Fame, in my opinion.
Well, neither are members of the Kiss Ass Club. So.
Well, I think it had a lot to do with that concussion suit.
Yeah,
I don't think you're going to see. I don't think you're going to see too many living people go in that were a part of that.
Right.
I look at the list that's on it since it's come out. I looked at how many of those people have gone in living since that list has come out. I believe it's 0.
Yeah.
Now I know Animal and Paul Orndorff and people like that are in the Hall of Fame, but that was pre-suit.
Right.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know what your thoughts on that suit are. I know it got dismissed again not too long ago.
Yeah, well.
But when you look at what you guys have gone through compared to other sports, I don't see how it, and I'm a WWE stockholder, so it doesn't benefit me to see it happen. But, you know, I think from a humane point of view, that's how you have to look at it. I mean, look at the abuse that you guys went through. My only point of contention is this. I'll put the notes down. That has nothing to do with it. My point of contention is this. You look at someone like Matt Bourne, who was part of that list. This is a guy, he probably had a 30 or so year career, but maybe 2 of them were spent in WWE.
Yeah, yeah.
How do you differentiate where the concussion may have come from, when and where? You know what I mean?
Well,
Unless you can point to a particular match or a particular instance, I think that makes it kind of tough.
Well, the insight that we got is that when Vince gobbled up all the companies, you assume responsibility for those companies.
Even injuries and things like that. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I still think at some point they're going to pay. I think that it's common sense. They have to.
Well,
look at what the NFL had to pay out.
Yeah, we're not, I mean, I'm speaking for Barry and myself. We're not losing sleep that we're not in the Hall of Fame. It would be nice, but we get reminded by the fans that we should be, and those are the people. I think if it was voted on by the fans, we'd be there.
Long years ago.
So
I think, again, I have a lot of friends in Stamford, Connecticut. I know some of them watch these shows from time to time because comments have been made, but I really don't care. It is an embarrassment to WWE that Demolition is not in the WWE Hall of Fame. It's an embarrassment to the company that Demolition is not actively inducted. If they wait, I don't know if you're familiar with the fact now, but in addition to the regular inductees, they have, I'm going to get the name wrong, I know the fans will probably crucify me in the comments, but I believe it's almost called the Hall of Fame Legacy Award, where they induct 5, 6, 7 folks that maybe never worked for them or are dead.
Right.
And I think that's probably what will happen.
Well,
and I think that's a disgrace because you deserve the honor now. You're living now. I know another man that sat in that very seat, Vader, Leon White, he really, really, really wanted to go in while he was alive. I don't think he was even part of that concussion lawsuit. But instead of putting him in, they had him induct Stan Hansen instead. And they knew Vader, there was a clock ticking with the health problems that he had.
Yeah.
And I don't know of Stan Hansen to have any health problems.
You can't fall victim to certain individuals. The powers that be sometimes think that they know what they're doing. And I've witnessed it a number of times, not only with us, with other talent. They don't know what they're doing.
Right.
So, and like I said, it would be nice if we're in, but neither of us are going to lose sleep if we're not in.
Right.
And if it's after I'm dead, I'm not going to know about it anyway. And my wife probably wouldn't let him put me in.
Well, you want to know what's funny? When they did it with Brody, they didn't even tell his wife. She found out about it on TV.
Well,
can you believe that?
Yeah, that's horrible.
It's crazy.
That's the amount of respect that.
And I don't even think those legacy quote unquote people. I don't even think they get the $5 grand.
Well, it's not that we need the money.
Right. No, but that's not the point. To me,
Yeah.
it's the fact that you guys are a great part of the legacy of a great company. No matter what you may think of the behind-the-scenes things that go on in that company, at the end of the day, you guys were part of one of the great eras of that company. Top featured attractions is during that era. And you deserve that respect to be part of that class of individuals that are in that Hall of Fame, especially when you look at some of the people that are in there, that if it was a more legit Hall of Fame that was voted on by peers and actual wrestlers and so on, as opposed to a boardroom meeting one day, it would be a far different looking Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
And that's what
And I'm not
me.
sure it's a boardroom meeting.
Well, you know what I mean.
Yeah,
they might be having a few cocktails on the company plane coming back from a TV taping. I don't know how they go about doing it. But, you know, I think it was insulting that I know Pat Patterson tried very, very hard, I was told by a friend in WWE, to try and get Ray Stevens in. And they wouldn't even, you know, and look at what happened to Ray Stevens.
Sure.
So,
well, I appreciate the comments. Maybe it'll happen, maybe it won't.
Well, I'll say this, and I don't care what WWE does. In October, it'll be 28 years I've been involved in this crazy world. One of the great things I ever did was my manhunt for Barry Darsow that took me 3 years to finally reach the man hiding in Minnesota that wanted nothing to do with wrestling and get you guys back together again for that reunion the morning of WrestleMania 23 in Windsor, Ontario, Canada. And thanks to that day, look at how many thousands and thousands of fans that have got a chance to meet you guys together as a unit, tell you guys what they think of you, share those memories with you, whether WWE wants to honor you, whether WWE wants to continue to piss on your great legacy. You guys still have that.
Well, thank you.
They can do what they want to do, but you know what? That will not diminish what the fans that loved you think.
Right, and we hear that, like we were in Baltimore, just for an example, last week. And there were hundreds, 800 fans in that room.
Well, let's hope November 13th we see that.
Yeah, and hundreds of those 800 came up and talked to us and thanked us for memories and things. And that means a lot. That's to know that you made just a little bit of influence on their life, whether they were hating us or loving us or in between. So
you created happiness.
Yeah, we know that if it were for the fans, we'd have all the accolades and stuff. So that makes you feel good.
You're in their Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
You're in their Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
Maybe that's the way to look at
Right.
it. And I was very proud that the Cauliflower Alley Club chose to honor you. The only problem was you were so busy with school, you didn't even get a chance to go.
Testing time.
I was with Barry. I didn't sit with him, but I know I had a great talk with Barry and his son Dakota out there. But that was the only thing missing was you. You had to do your speech. I don't know if you did it.
Well, I was going to go, but my principal said that you realize this 2-week period is our end of course tests. And they only have X number of teachers. And the teachers have to monitor it. They can have other people sitting in the room, but I mean, and she said, I'm not going to say you can't go, but I'd rather you not go. And she was good to me, so I just had to make a decision.
Have they invited you back to come out?
No, but that's on my bucket list.
Well, just to be fair, because if you watch the YouTube version of our show, we have almost like CNN or ESPN, we have the rotating graphics. CauliflowerAlleyClub.org if you want to join a great non-profit organization. It's only $25 a year. The dues go towards helping old-time wrestlers with medical bills and life expenses. Sadly, it pays for funerals sometimes. But we have a great reunion once a year out in. The fans can't see it, but that beautiful city that I love behind us over there. I don't know if you're a Vegas guy or not, Bill, but I love Las Vegas.
We're going to be out there in either September or October.
It's September. And you know, hopefully, maybe that's the one good thing that comes out of coronavirus. I hated the fact that the reunion was just a couple of weeks after WrestleMania because, you know, a lot of the boys with his fan fests and whatnot, they just saw each other a couple of weeks before, so they lost almost the incentive to go. If you separate WrestleMania and the reunion by 6 months, I think a lot more of the guys would go.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So hopefully September, it's going to be the week before my birthday this year. And wouldn't it be cool? Last year was going to be the same thing when still coronavirus was kind of the unknown. There was going to be a Raiders home game the night of my birthday. So my goal was I wanted to go to the reunion and I wanted to see the Raiders new stadium where it looks like SummerSlam is going to be this year now, as a matter of fact. Yeah, at the LA Raiders. I'll probably call them the LA Raiders forever. The Las Vegas Raiders new stadium in Las Vegas is going to host SummerSlam in August. But hopefully when I'm out there in September for the CAC, I can get a chance to see a football game.
Yeah.
When I was at WrestleMania, I saw my first non-American League Red Sox game. I saw the Rays and the Rangers just to try and do something that wasn't wrestling related. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Get a little culture in there. But that stadium's a dump. I don't know. I know you're so used to where the Braves are right now in Atlanta. Do you ever go to the games?
I went to one. I went to...
At the new stadium?
At the new stadium. I went to a couple at the old stadium.
What do you think of the new one?
It's impressive.
Is it?
Yeah, it's impressive. It's got more life to it than the old stadium because it's got restaurants and bars and shops and things like that. So
don't let Marty know about the bars.
It's a destination rather than a ball game. You know, you go there for other things. If there's a game, you can catch the game. But a lot of people just go for the entertainment.
So it should be on my list then.
Oh,
I'm a
yeah,
huge baseball.
definitely.
Have you ever been to Fenway?
No, I haven't.
Now, I know one time you were here, you discussed that there's a lot of old Boston. I know you're a historical guy, history guy.
Yeah.
There's a lot of places in Boston you'd like to see.
Oh,
so, you know what? Maybe when life is a little more normal and you've put on those 29 pounds again after Sue cooks you a few good meals.
I hope.
Never mind those supplements. You might lose more weight.
Yeah.
The cardio won't be a problem for you with those supplements she was giving you from what you said.
Yeah.
But you know, maybe we can take a day and go and see some of those sites.
That'd be nice.
Yeah.
I know.
Because hopefully we're going to have you back on, like I said, at least a rotating basis on these shows. I think the fans are going to love the content. I know I'm loving the content. Anyone that was a Demolition fan is going to love the content because, teaser for the next episode, what a great segue, Bill. Next time we join the fans, what are we going to do? We're going to pop into the year 1987. What happened in 1987 that you can think of?
My mind's blank.
Demolition. Demolition came to be. So great way to wrap up the show. We talked 1986, the machines from Japan, what Andre was doing, why he kind of vanished as he was getting ready to do The Princess Bride, but would pop in occasionally as the giant machine.
Yep.
Blackjack Mulligan became the big machine. You were always super, the super machine. We learned a little bit more about Stud and Bundy. What was going on in the landscape in '86 with all these different machines that would come in different towns where they were popular, which I thought was a great idea. I mean, Hogan, MSG was his town. You had the Hulk machine.
Yeah.
JYD, New Orleans was his town. You had the dog machine, or whatever they may have called him.
Junkyard dog machine.
Crusher was huge in Milwaukee. You had the Crusher machine.
Yep.
So it must have been a lot of fun on the road to have all those rotating partners.
It was. It was. It threw a little bit of humor into the matches, and a little levity into the matches too.
Now I got to ask this because the fans always want to know: good money?
Yeah.
Good money.
Oh yeah.
Demolition money, or maybe no?
Not Demolition.
Not Demolition. All right. We'll take that. All right, wrestling fans, we're going to continue to have a lot of fun. We hope you had fun with us. If you are watching the premiere of this episode live, share your thoughts in the chat box to my left, which would be the right on the TV screen. If you're not watching during the premiere, leave your thoughts in the comment section below. Don't forget to tip the bartender. The Super Chat button is open for business. As always, we ask you to help the cause. Give us a thumbs up if you enjoyed the video. That costs absolutely nothing. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Again, that costs nothing. If you click the little bell, it'll give you a notification every time we have a new episode, and it lets YouTube know that you're loving this great content, so they'll show it off to more and more fans that have no idea we exist. I wish the fans out there knew we existed. The millions of fans of the 80s that loved what we're talking about, that said, you know what, this is what I think of 2021 pro wrestling, or sports entertainment, however you want to label it. They'd love these talk shows.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And they can tag their friends and let them know.
And in this day of social media, you can share the link on Facebook, on Twitter, on Reddit, Facebook wrestling groups, email a wrestling website, all those dirt sheets out there. They'd love to hear the dirt about the good old days like we're talking about. And again, fans, there's financial ways you can help too. We have a great eBay store that is open 24/7, no matter what's going on with coronavirus. The link is in the description box below. And maybe most important, if you don't just want to be a friend, if you don't just want to be a fan, if you want to be part of the Boston Wrestling MWF family, head on over to patreon.com/Boston Wrestling. You get early ad-free access to all of our Wrestling Insider in-studio shoot interviews. You get our acclaimed studio shoot interview DVD library that has been seen by millions online and millions more on the Howard Stern Show, thanks to the insanity that was the Iron Sheik. You get some Patreon.
That is the Iron Sheik.
That is the Iron Sheik. You get some Patreon exclusives, but to Bill, the thing that means a lot to me is you help keep wrestling legends working. Again, that's patreon.com/Boston Wrestling. In a day and age where, you know, life seems to be coming back to normal a little bit as we're taping this, but this studio, I continue to believe, can be a great place for guys to earn income, not being around a ring, not taking a bump, just by sitting down, relaxing, maybe having an adult beverage, and sharing stories about their career. I think that's a great thing. To me, it means a lot because every time we lose one of the Brotherhood, it hurts.
Yeah, I agree.
And just that New Jack story alone, where that man, 6 days after he sat in that seat, passed away like that, when he was so full of life, when we talked about doing almost an ECW theme series for the fans of hardcore wrestling. Not everybody loves hardcore wrestling. I understand that, but there's a genre of fans that love that hardcore style. There's something for everybody out there. And you know what? We produced 6 great episodes that we're going to release in time. Respectfully, John Cena Sr. and I have kind of come up with a way that we think the fans will enjoy it, and I think it would be a touching tribute to his wife, the way we want to open it. That we're going to get into that more this summer, but we talked a lot about 1986 for the short time you were there. For my partner in crime, Bill Eadie, I'm Dan Marty. We will see you next time on Wrestling Insiders. Until we speak again, you and yours, please be well, stay healthy. Good night.
Thank you for joining us. Please give the video a big thumbs up, leave us a comment, and subscribe to the channel to enjoy more great content. Don't forget, you can help keep wrestling legends working. Check out our eBay store and join the Boston Wrestling family at patreon.com/Boston Wrestling so we can produce more in-depth shoot interviews.